Today we're going to be learning about parenthetical citations. So follow along with your note sheet as I go through these notes, and then I'll be showing you examples with my sample paper about Georgia so that you can get an idea of what your parenthetical citations should look like. Let's start with Roman numeral number 1. What are parenthetical citations? Parenthetical citations are a way to give credit to a source for information you use in your paper. They appear in your writing at the end of sentences that contain information from your research. And I will be showing you an example of that in just a minute. Why do we use parenthetical citations? When we take information we find from researching about a topic, we have to give credit by telling the reader where we found it. The facts on your note cards came from your different sources. When you use those facts in your paper, it's your job to tell your reader where you found them. Doesn't my Works Cited page already give credit to my sources? You may be wondering that. Yes, the Works Cited page does give your reader a list of all the sources you used to research your topic. However, it does not show which information came from which source. It's still your job to show your reader specifically which source each fact came from. You may be wondering what parenthetical citations look like. Well, I'm about to show you. A parenthetical citation gives the last name of the author of the source and the page number that the information is found on. The last name and page number are then put into parentheses at the end of the sentence. This is why we call them parenthetical citations, because the information for the citation is put into parentheses. Now you know. Okay, here's an example from my sample paper. The sentence says, "The climate is very humid and most areas receive an average of 49.74 inches of rain per year." That is information about the state of Georgia. And then here is an example of a parenthetical citation right here. It goes at the end of the sentence before the period. In the example, the fact about the climate and rainfall came from an article written by someone named Nicole Mitchell. The information about the climate and the rainfall was on page 389 of the article. Therefore, after I put the information in my paper, I tell the author's last name and the page number that the information came from. And I put that information in parentheses before the period. Now, if your source does not have an author, which is the case with many website sources, if the source does not have an author, use the title of the source instead. And then here are some instructions about using titles. If the title is the name of a book, you want to italicize the title. Here's an example. If the book was called Georgia: A State History, it's a book title, so I put it in italics and then follow it with the page number. If the title is the name of a web article or an encyclopedia article, then you put the title in quotation marks. For example, if I have a encyclopedia article called Georgia, I would put that information in quotation marks because it's the title of an article, and then follow it with the page number that the information was found on. What if you don't have page numbers? If you're using a website, most of the time you're not going to have page numbers, right? Because you're just scrolling down and there's no pages to turn. If the source does not have page numbers, leave the page number off. Okay, we just drop it. For example, if Geography Introduction is the title of a website that I used, then I put that information in quotation marks because that's the title of the article, and I don't have a page number because there are no page numbers to be found. Okay, so down here, what I've done is I've created a sample Works Cited page right here. It's a little mini Works Cited page with 5 different sources on it. And then I've given a sample citation for each one. Now let's go through each of those. The information in the parentheses for your parenthetical citations should exactly match the first piece of information for your source on your Works Cited page. Okay, and I'll show you how that works. So, here I have a book called Georgia Culture Smart, written by someone named Natia Abraham. Then I have a web article on georgiainfo.edu, and the web article is called Geography Introduction. Next, I have an encyclopedia article. The title of the encyclopedia article is called Georgia. Next, I have an online article called Annual Bibliography Georgia History in 2009, and that article is written by Nicole Mitchell. Then lastly, I have a book called Georgia, A State History, and there is no author there. So here's my sample works cited page. When I go into my paper to write information and then give the name of the source afterwards, like I showed you, here are samples that I would use. So if I was using this source right here, I would put the last name of the author, because that's the first thing shown right here. See the part that sticks out? That's what you want to use. I've highlighted each one so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I would use the author's last name and the page number. The author's last name is Abraham. The source is a book, so a page number is included. Obviously, if it's a book, you're going to have page numbers. Okay, let's look at the next one. Geography Introduction goes in the parentheses, in quotation marks, just like this first piece of information sticking out here on the works cited page. There is no author, so the title of the web page is used instead. Because it is a website or a web page, there are no page numbers, so a page number is not included. Let's look at the next one. This is an encyclopedia article. And as you see here highlighted, the first piece of information we're given on the works cited page is what's going to go in the parentheses, just like the ones before it. So I have Georgia, the title of the article, in parentheses, followed by the page number. There is no author, so the title of the encyclopedia article is used. Because the source is an encyclopedia, a page number is included. It's a book, and so we have page numbers. Let's look at the next one. We have Mitchell 389. So because even though this is an article that was published on the web, we have an author. So the first piece of information we're given over here is the author's last name. So that's what's going to go in our parenthetical citation. But because this article was published on the web, even though it was published on the web, it did have page numbers, probably because it was originally published in print. So we're going to put the page number. The author's last name is Mitchell. The source is an article found online that listed page numbers, so the page is included. Lastly, we have another book called Georgia, A State History. We don't have an author. If we had an author, then we would be using the author's last name, but because we don't have an author, the title of the book is the first thing listed on the works cited page. So that is what's going to go in our citation over here, Georgia, A State History. And because it's a book, we have page numbers. There is no author, so the title of the book is used. Because the source is a book, a page number is included. Okay, so I hope this has kind of helped you get an initial grasp on what parenthetical citations look like and how they correlate with your works cited page.